do it for the Lycan League currently underway. I have put a request in to see if we can hold on to Neuro versus Desert, if that ends up being the next match. May or may not, I don't know. But spawning in the top right corner of the map, it's going to be the F in Feed Me stands for Fake Feed Me.
In the bottom right, as the green Terran, it's Avilo.
So those siege tanks really got out of hand last game. But I really do feel this is the fault of Feed Me's build. We've seen a lot of Zerg players that actually, through Twitter, I'd say more so than what I've seen on streams, talk about how 2 base mutas are still probably better openings versus Terran right now, just because of combination of Cyclone / those tank drops. I'm not sure if that's going to be the case again here for Feed Me, but I do think that Aspire would have helped him a lot last game.
Yeah. I mean, seriously, it looked really bad, but honestly, having 2 to 3 queens, you know, getting those earlier on, going for a macro build and having those for defense anyways, can actually kind of take care of the first tank sort of well. There is some luck involved, as always, you know, and you do kind of depend on Avilo making at least 1 or 2 minor mistakes to really get their shots off. But you'd be surprised, you know, tanks can actually, or queens can actually tank some tank shots. The range isn't that bad. And medevacs are surprisingly weak sometimes against those queen shots, but he only had 1 for each base. He's going for a very 2-basey build, and as such, it looked really easy for Avilo to start that ball rolling, where 1 tank, 2 tank, 3 tanks, even if he really wanted to.
Red fish, blue fish. With the map layout as it is, though, it's always a little bit funky where you want to take your third. I guess there's no great spot, but this is like the worst spot to take it. If you guys don't know, you can actually just put a siege tank here and reach the hatchery of your opponent. It's kind of gross. Kind of did it a little bit. Kind of felt really dirty after doing it a little bit. But then, of course, I actually ended up losing that same game because the Ultra swap was too good. God, new Ultras are so crazy strong.
Yes, too strong, I would say, definitely. We have a kind of... Did you see that?
Interesting. I don't know if he did see it or not. Checking the vision, he actually never did see it, so... What? Oh, you know what it might have been? Not seeing a natural base again. Might think, oh, it's a 1 base. Gotta float around. I mean, I'm not gonna be the first guy to trigger finger a map hack call in Legacy at the point, but that was a little bit strange for sure.
Yeah, I think it definitely was the lack of a natural, though, so that was a pretty good call. Not that, like, I mean, honestly, if the third had bought any amount of time where the tanks aren't hitting his main drone line, that probably would have been worth it, but you don't want it to actually let it finish then not be able to save it, you know, like, that would be really bad.
Well, big shout out and a big salute goes to Krugerson in chat. Just reset for his year-long journey, 12 months. Welcome back. If you guys hadn't heard, we have actually placed the order now for some coins, for some BaseTradeTV Partouf coins. It's probably going to take about a month on the estimate to get back to us. Oh man, that's a big infestor in that little tank over there. What the hell? It was going to take about a month to get back to us, but we do plan to send our subscribers who've been with us for a year a sort of commemorative BaseTradeTV coin. So thank you for your support of all this time. And they look pretty cool, guys. I'm pretty stoked for this. I hope they turn out well. Otherwise, this is a big waste of money.
Well, Lings are on the way. Those are here to deal. I mean,
I think it's gonna be hard. Like the tank can still one-shot them, but if he gets on top of them, you know, Dead Space maybe sits underneath the tanks immediately, or just goes for the counterattack. Either way, Vella's gonna get some nice shots if he lets them. It's like a quick draw. I don't know how to describe this. This is awkward. Like just sit underneath the medevac, man. What are you doing?
You just gotta get the queens in there too.
Yeah, I mean this is like a conventional drop. Pick off the medevac and it's easy peasy after that. Well, I should say conventional because it's a tank, but I mean the same logic applies where you stop the medevac, you stop the drop.
Yeah, so the things should be really paired up with the queens here, so, you know.
So they're soaking the damage instead of the queens, yeah.
Yeah, or they're soaking the damage, or the medevac has to retreat like it's been doing, and then the Lynx do get some pot shots off on the tanks. You know, like, it's definitely a balance, and it is quite hard for the Zerg player, but, you know, it's about like, nipping it in the bud, right? Because when it comes to 2 tanks, suddenly that damage is just like, oh, it's so hard to deal with.
You really got to stop it when it's small, because once it gets big, it gets out of hand. Now, Feed Me is going to lose an Overlord scouting the base to the Viking. You will see that the natural base has been built, just as position in, but 2 queens lost back at home. Some pretty poor control so far, and Aspire is way too late.
Yeah, it is, it is. Again, this looks so strong that you're thinking, well, you got to go in a 2-base layer, really? Like for Spire? Not necessarily, but 2-base layer still isn't that bad of a build.
Almost got one of those medevacs. Oh god, so close. Just got to finish that off. Tanks aren't really taking the damage from this just yet, but they're still not really the point of it. Tanks are quite bad when left just alone, but another big infestor tank. Oh man, what's up with these? Ooh, so much Zerg all over the map. Avilo's going to move towards his Nash one. He is going to take more, plus upgrades, and this looks to be pretty much mech out of him. Now, I don't know if he's just done toying with his food. Maybe it's because the medevacs are low, but he is going to pull back. Oh, who's this? Big shout out as well to Liquidity C. Just resubbed for 9 months in a row, and I'm surprised I said that name correctly in one go. But welcome back, and thank you for that long-time support.
Well, we do have mech on the way. What a surprise for Avilo, and it's probably a lot nicer transition than from, you know, tank drops into bio. Although, I mean, if bio tanks make sense, and that will be cool to see. I'd love to have that back.
Red on the minimap is so bad, by the way. There we go, Avilo. Finally, somebody does it properly. They don't just leave the tanks in the defense. It's like, oh, I stopped attacking. I forgot they could be picked up in medevacs. Quickly picks those up. No friendly fire from the other tank, and the Lings don't kill those tanks.
Is that the Cyclone upgrade, or...?
That, yeah, I believe, is the Cyclone upgrade. Targeting optics, yeah. Because they, didn't they remove durable materials or whatever it was from... Not durable materials, whatever the Raven upgrade's called?
Did they?
Because the point defense rune... Or actually, I don't know if they did. Because they nerfed the point defense rune only lasts like 10 seconds now.
I think I still had to get 2 upgrades for Ravens when I made them in that one game.
Well, I'm just thinking, because, like, doesn't the upgrade kind of become garbage? So you're like, oh, it lasts for 12 seconds instead of 10. Woo!
It's like 20 to 40 or something like that. I mean, it is kind of garbage, but...
Yeah, it's, I mean, I guess it's still better than nothing, but it's just a lot of gas. And going back on the point of everything in Legacy of the Void is so much more expensive because gas is so much more valuable.
Well, double expanding isn't a bad idea, but unfortunately one of his expansions is going towards Avilo, and as you said, if Avilo takes this base where the mutas are, he can siege up Feedme's base.
Yeah, quite nicely, too.
There is another map that had this happen, and I think that then they forced it not to be those spawns.
That was an infestation pit, but I guess it got swapped to a Hydra den?
Okay, they just got a Roach Hydra.
Well, I'm kind of hoping it goes beyond that. I'm kind of hoping it's Roach Hydra into Lurkers, because Lurkers, for those who haven't seen it, get some disgustingly stupid long range. Tanks are still the king with 13, but I think it's 9, right? Lurkers get like 9 range with that attack. It's pretty sick.
Sure. That's only if you ever get it, though. I mean, I don't know. Just no one's really been playing around with Lurkers to their fullest capability. I mean, I tried to force you to do it, but apparently they didn't go so well.
No, and that was definitely my fault too.
That they're pretty hard to get into good positions. They're definitely great for defense, like cause it's equally hard to micro against them if they're just allowed to be static. But in terms of actually like going up to their opponent and getting into good positioning without just dying, it's quite difficult and maybe even impossible without a blinding cloud. There you go.
Yeah, Blinding Cloud's actually still pretty cool to have. I like the Cyclones, though. They're even more dangerous for those Vipers than anything else. But, you know, we got a Thor in the mix. We got a couple of Vikings. And with 2 or 3 Cyclones in these turrets, there's no way the mutas are going to get out of hand. We recently tried to play Mecha as well ourselves. And one thing we did find is that mutas can still get out of hand for a mech player if not done correctly. But early on like this, Avilo's not going to get snowballed on. I like his anti-air so far.
Maybe now with this new unit we're going to get...
Right. Yeah, I can't wait to see how that one. I don't care about the abilities of it. They've discussed how it's gonna be like, you know, AoE, low damage, high attack speed and all this, but I really just, it kind of like, they describe it sounds like a gyrocopter to me from Warcraft 3, right? Like, and that's kind of what I'm hoping the design goes towards, like, not unit design with techniques and specs and all this, but like the actual physical look of the unit.
No.
It's like little helicopter blades. Like the Banshee looks all cool and futuristic, and this new unit just looks like stupid. And
oh my god!
Yeah, great Cyclone catch there on Feedme's Mutalisk patrolling around. They did miss the medevac too. God, that's really bad. Mutas have failed in every way possible. Well, these 2 Hellbats should get a lot of kills on that mineral line. But Lurkers, not quite here. It's Ravagers, Roaches, and Hydras. I don't think it's going to go well for Feedme.
I don't know. He is quite high in supply. I mean, Avilo did take his dandy time getting into his natural base, and even his third is actually not taken, his Ling there.
It's like a supply lead in pardon my phrase, in garbage units.
I don't know. I mean,
like, he's got a lot of drones, and Avilo's economy sucks because he did take the natural so late, so I guess that drone lead makes a lot of sense, but his actual army value is not crazy out of hand. And the Ravagers, if those Cyclones get those connects, they're just going to run in circles all day.
If he could go ahead and get maxed out, if he wasn't dealing with these Hellbat drops, then it'd be quite scary. But he's, you know, spending so much time, and he actually would be supply blocked if he tried to max out now. That is messing up a pretty strong timing. He also doesn't have 2-2, so I mean there could have been a much crisper build out from the Feed Me.
Pro J-Man 73 just subbed to the channel for the first time. Thank you so much. But with the Cyclones and these picked up siege tanks, I was liking the way Avilo was playing to break that sort of frontal push. But you know, we had Feed Me fall back. He had to deal with the Hellbats, but that was gonna be a really cool break had this army actually stuck around.
I mean, it's Iron Fortress. You can see like you're gonna die. A three-pronged attack easily, you know, and you can. The third is actually still uncovered, really. I mean, units could get up there and probably get out.
Speaking of which, got some roaches coming on in. Not a planetary or anything so crazy. I do like the Femies continue to expand. We're actually gonna see flying locusts. Ooh. Interestingly enough, though, the locusts. There's a weird dynamic of Thor Cyclones and missile turrets that you're going to need with flying locusts nowadays, because you can't shoot them out of the sky. But either way, the locusts have been somewhat buffed. And we're going to see this with the real change. They're applying to HOTS, guys, where the locusts are going to be kind of the same the way they are here. And if you've seen Cats play, you've seen how quickly, you know, 6 swarm hosts can tear down a Nexus.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Still trying with the burrow play.
Does he just have everything hotkeyed to burrow? Because he did burrow all the links and the Hydras and everything too, but I gotta get some of that corrosive bile rain down on these tanks here. The Thor get the slow units. The Ravager damage is good, but none of it goes off on that army. Where's the corrosive biles?
There's a couple in the medevacs. Unfortunately, the one medevac ended up going down, so... corrosive bile, I mean, it does have a not surprisingly long, but still, you know, medium length cooldown. So it is, you know, pretty important that you get the anti-air shots off correctly as opposed to that.
Just walks into some corrosive bile. Looks like Avilo will lose one of the tanks, and has to keep the SCV's micro back.
Well, I got Vipers on the way. No Swarm Hosts yet. I
feel, you know how your thoughts on the Lurker are that they're too soft, like they make the sort of sound rather than like
Lurker. Yeah.
I kind of feel Ravager's almost the same with the corrosive bile. It comes down from up high and it's like, I would love to hear like the whistle, like you know when you drop the bomb from afar, like.
Yeah. There's actually a lot of I think it's like audio problems that just aren't having the same effect. I think the Cyclone's pretty good. Like when you hear that lock-on sound, you're like, oh, I'm doomed.
Yeah.
But everything else seems a little lackluster.
Well, I like the Vipers for multiple reasons. Blinding Cloud's going to be cool, but I think that the new Parasitic Bomb is going to be so good at stopping these medevacs from constantly repositioning the tanks over and over. He did get the command center out alive. I actually wasn't sure if that was going to happen or not, but between Parasitic Bomb and Blinding Cloud, these Vipers are going to be a great addition to have in the army. Definitely got to see what other light tech he goes for. I mean, he's gone for these ranged units. He's looking towards Swarm Hosts, and that's all well and good, but never underestimate how good Zerglings are. I mean, even without upgrades, I imagine that 40% attack speed just makes them monsters still nonetheless.
The Ravagers aren't so bad for dealing with this, at least until the tank count gets really high.
Yeah. Oh, more Ravagers coming. So Parasitic Bomb or Blinding Clouds, we'll see what he goes with. He is going to come in with those Vipers. For those who don't know, by the way, Parasitic Bomb is this really cool sort of, has been described as an irradiate, but not really the same idea. It only affects air, but it does a lot of damage to clumped up units in the air, like these medevacs, like these Vikings.
Yeah, it's the same idea, just not to the same units.
Yeah, not to the same degree, I guess, actually, probably the better. Because it doesn't hit ground underneath it. It stays in the air if the unit dies for its duration. There's a lot of cool aspects to it. I gotta tell you, it's probably one of my favorite new things. As cool as the new Ultras and Lings are, Parasitic Bomb is my favorite. But perhaps Feed doesn't realize he has it. He can kill these Vikings so easy. Just Parasitic Bomb 2 or 3 of them.
Yeah, I don't think he does. And in fact, he's lost all of those Hydras that were originally accompanying his army. He does build 10 more. Not really necessary.
That's such a shame, because Vipers are no longer the defenseless units they once were, and unfortunately, he can't use them. Now, the army is out of position, if you could barely tell on the minimap, because there's transparency problems, but Hellbats do get into this 4th.
Roast and toast? That's too many damn Ravagers. Like, you gotta have a front line for these units. They're not as bad as Hydras, but some roaches to help out.
Can you even Corrosive Bile enough before they come off a cooldown? I mean, there's so many of them by the time you use your last Corrosive Bile. The first one's gotta be way off cooldown.
Yeah. I might be considering, Corrosive Bile. That might be cool to see, but this entire game has just been kind of unfortunate for Feed Me. Feed Me didn't do a bad job macroing at all, in fact. He got up to a decent supply ahead of a mech player. 80 supply up. Yes, in Roaches, but still where you want to be. But had no attack, He didn't attack when he had just Roach Hydra, didn't attack when he had Ravager. With the Swarm Host he never made, but he got the tech for.
Not only that, but his defenses have been kind of, pardon me for saying like a bit of garbage. He's constantly taking damage from these Hellbats. The tanks have done way too much. Blinding Cloud's sticking down top of the tanks. That's kind of nice, but the Cyclone's got some pretty good lock-ons off. A couple of the Ravagers go down pretty quick. Burrow's the only way to break that, but he's burrowing his whole army, so not a lot of micro-control going on, losing a lot of damage through it. Siege tanks are going to clean this up. Keep in mind, guys, Ravagers only have 120 health. They're not that strong, so quickly dissipates to this army.
Well, that was his entire army.
Yeah.
And he suddenly is down below 100 supply. Avilo's still at 121. He's remaxing, or well, just getting supply. I don't really remaxing with 18 roaches with pretty damn good upgrades in a second here, but there's not enough units now.
Really unfortunate that this went so poorly, but I really feel like the guy playing Feed Me, and again, stressing this isn't the real Feed Me, guys, really needs to explore the capabilities of his units. There's so many things in this game that could have gone differently. For very minor tweaks in the way he played. I'm not even talking about crazy composition changes. Again, just go back to the Viper. Not using Parasitic Bomb, running away from 4 Vikings instead of killing all 4 of them. Just small things like this adding up just kind of makes me feel like he's very uncomfortable with perhaps all the changes. Just too busy focusing on Ravagers. It's like, oh, my Ravager Rush didn't work. Maybe my Ravager Macro will. But taps out. Too much damage across the field. GG, ladies and gentlemen. Avilo will take his series and advance on in the brackets. Alright, so he goes out to fight against top. We may